The stars looked different from the viewing deck of the space station New Frontier. Captain Jake Morrison stood at the large window, watching the alien ship approach. It was beautiful in a way that human ships were not. The vessel, called Harmonies. Light moved like liquid silver through space, its surface shifting and changing color as it came closer. Jake had been waiting for this moment his entire career. First contact with an alien species. The Veltar had sent messages to Earth-3 months ago, asking for a peaceful meeting. Their language was musical, full of soft sounds that reminded Jake of wind chimes. The translation computers had worked hard to understand them. The alien ship docked with a gentle touch that barely shook the station. Jake straightened his uniform and walked to the docking bay. His team was already there, waiting. Dr. Lisa Carter stood near the airlock, holding her datapad with shaking hands. She was the best scientist they had for this job, but Jake could see she was nervous. "Remember," Jake said to his team, "they came here in peace. Let's keep it that way." The airlock opened with a soft hiss. The first alien stepped through, and Jake held his breath. The Veltar were tall and thin, with skin that seemed to glow with a soft blue light. Their eyes were large and dark, like pools of water. They moved with grace that made Jake feel clumsy. The lead alien stepped forward and spoke in perfect English. "I am Ambassador Zextal of the Veltar Republic. We bring greetings from our people to yours." Jake smiled and extended his hand. "Captain Jake Morrison, Earth Defense Force. Welcome to our home." The alien looked at Jake's hand for a moment, then carefully reached out with his own. His skin felt warm and smooth, like polished stone. "This is your greeting custom, yes? We have studied your transmissions." "Yes," Jake said. "We shake hands to show friendship." Ambassador Zextal nodded slowly. "We appreciate your willingness to meet with us. Your species is young, but shows great promise." Dr. Carter stepped forward. "Ambassador, I'm Dr. Lisa Carter. I study alien life forms. Well, I studied the idea of alien life forms. Now I get to study real ones." The alien's large eyes seemed to smile, though his mouth didn't move much. "Dr. Carter, we have heard of your work. Your people's science is impressive for such a young species." Behind the ambassador, other Veltar entered the station. Jake counted 6 of them in total. They all wore simple robes that seemed to be made of the same shifting material as their ship. One of them carried what looked like a crystal box that glowed softly. "This is Commander Clieth," the ambassador said, pointing to a slightly shorter alien. "He leads our military forces, and this is Dr. Nex Wynn, our medical officer." Jake introduced his own team. There was Dr. Carter, Lieutenant Alex Brown, who handled security, and Engineer Sam Peters, who kept the station running. The aliens listened carefully to each name, repeating them softly to themselves. "We have prepared quarters for you," Jake said, "and we have food that our computers say you can eat safely." "Thank you," Ambassador Zextal said. "But first, we would like to learn about your people. We have observed your planet from far away, but we want to understand your culture." Dr. Carter's eyes lit up. "I would love to show you our art and music. We have so much to share." The aliens followed them to the station's main conference room. Jake had ordered the walls to display some of Earth's most beautiful sights. Mountains, oceans, forests, and cities rotated slowly on the screens. The Veltar watched with interest. "Your world is very beautiful," Commander Clieth said. "We see why you love it so much." "These are our greatest achievements," Dr. Carter said, bringing up images of human art. She showed them paintings by famous artists, sculptures, and buildings. The aliens studied each image carefully. "Remarkable," Ambassador Zextal said. "You create beauty for its own sake. This shows a developed culture. Double quotes. Dr. Carter played some music next. She started with classical pieces, then moved to jazz and folk. Songs. The aliens listened with their heads tilted to one side, their large eyes closed in concentration. Your music has many emotions, Dr. Nexwin said. We can feel the joy and sadness in the sounds. Music is very important to humans, Dr. Carter explained. We use it to express feelings that words cannot capture. The aliens shared some of their own culture. They showed crystals that created beautiful light patterns when touched. The lights moved like living things, creating shapes that seemed to tell stories without words. This is how we share our history, Ambassador Zextal explained. Each crystal holds the memory of important events. Jake watched the lights dance and felt peaceful. The Veltar seemed to be exactly what they claimed to be, a peaceful, artistic people who valued beauty and knowledge. We would like to learn more about how your people spend their time when not working, Commander Clieth said. What do you do for? The word translates as pleasure time. Recreation, Dr. Carter said. Entertainment. We have many forms of entertainment. Yes, the alien said. We are very curious about this. Our people spend free time in meditation and quiet learning. What do humans do? Jake and Dr. Carter exchanged glances. This seemed like a perfect opportunity to show the aliens more of human culture. We have many different types of entertainment. Dr. Carter said, sports, games, movies, books. Would you like to see some? The aliens looked at each other, communicating in their musical language for a moment. Then Ambassador Zextal turned back to the humans. We would be honored to observe your recreational activities, he said. This will help us understand your people better. Dr. Carter smiled widely. Wonderful. I'll prepare some examples of our most popular forms of entertainment. This will be fascinating for both our species. Jake felt good about how the meeting was going. The aliens seemed genuinely interested in learning about humanity. He had no idea that he was about to witness the most shocked reaction any alien had ever had to human culture that the first day of contact ended with both species. Feeling hopeful about the future, the Veltar retired to their quarters, excited to learn more about human entertainment. The humans went to sleep, planning to show their new friends the best of human recreational activities. None of them knew that tomorrow would change everything. Dr. Lisa Carter woke up early the next morning, excited about the day ahead. She had spent hours the night before choosing the perfect examples of human entertainment to show the Veltar delegation. She wanted to start with something mild, something that would ease the aliens into understanding human recreational activities. She met Captain Jake Morrison in the station's main conference room. The large screen was ready, and comfortable chairs had been arranged for both humans and aliens. Jake looked relaxed, drinking his morning coffee. What did you pick for the first demonstration? Jake asked. I thought we'd start with boxing. Dr. Carter said, it's a classic human sport. Danny Rodriguez versus Mike Thompson from last year's championship fight. It shows human athletic ability and competitive spirit. Jake nodded. Good choice. Nice and straightforward. The Veltar delegation arrived precisely on time, as they had the day before. Ambassador Zixtal wore the same flowing robes, and his skin glowed with that soft blue light. Commander Clieth and Dr. Nexwin flanked him with the other three aliens, taking positions behind them. Good morning, friends, Ambassador Zextal said. We are eager to learn about your entertainment. We're happy to share, Dr. Carter said. I've selected some examples of popular human recreational activities. Let's start with something called boxing. The lights dimmed, and the screen showed a large arena filled with thousands of cheering people. Two men stood in a square ring, wearing shorts and gloves. Danny Rodriguez was tall and muscular, while Mike Thompson was shorter but broader. Both men looked strong and confident. This is a sport where two humans compete to see who is stronger and more skilled, Dr. Carter explained. They use only their hands, and there are rules to keep them safe. The fight began. Danny threw the first punch, a quick jab that snapped Mike's head back. Mike responded with a hook that caught Danny in the ribs. The crowd roared with approval. The Veltar watched in complete silence. Their large eyes were fixed on the screen, unblinking. Jake noticed that their skin seemed to lose some of its blue glow. The fight continued. Danny landed a hard right cross that sent Mike stumbling backward. Mike recovered quickly and charged forward, throwing a series of punches that forced Danny against the ropes. The crowd was on its feet, screaming encouragement. They are hurting each other, Commander Clive said softly. On purpose? Well, yes, Dr. Carter said. But it's controlled. There are rules and a referee to make sure no one gets seriously injured. As if to prove her wrong, Danny landed a devastating uppercut that lifted Mike off his feet. Mike crashed the canvas, blood streaming from his nose. The referee began counting, while the crowd went wild. Dr. Nexwin made a sound like wind through broken glass. The injured one is not seeking medical attention. He is trying to continue fighting. Mike struggled to his feet at the count of 8. His legs shaky, but his hands still raised. The referee checked him quickly, then allowed the fight to continue. Danny moved in for the finish, landing 3 hard punches that sent Mike down again. This time, Mike could not get up. The referee waved his arms, ending the fight. Danny raised his hands in victory, while medical personnel rushed to help Mike. The crowd cheered louder than ever. The spectators are celebrating the violence, Ambassador Zextel said. His voice was barely a whisper. They are pleased that one human has harmed another. It's competition, Jake explained. Oath fighters chose to be there. They train for years to compete at this level. It's about testing themselves against worthy opponents. The aliens looked at each other, communicating in their musical language. The sounds were different now, more urgent and disturbed. Perhaps we should try a different sport, Dr. Carter said quickly. Something with teams instead of individuals. She switched to a football game between the Chicago Bears and the Dallas Cowboys. The massive stadium was packed with fans wearing team colors. The players looked like warriors in their padding and helmets. This is American football, Dr. Carter explained. 2 teams try to move a ball down the field to score points. It requires strategy, teamwork, and athletic ability. The game began with a kickoff. The ball sailed through the air, and the receiving team's player caught it and began running. Immediately, 11 players from the other team converged on him like a pack of wolves. The collision was tremendous. Bodies flew in all directions, and the ball carrier disappeared under a pile of players. Navigator Polsin, one of the quieter. Veltar made a choking sound. They are attacking in groups now. This is organized warfare. No, Dr. Carter said, her voice rising slightly. It's just a game. See, they're all getting up. No one was hurt. But even as she spoke, the camera showed quarterback Ryan Kelly taking a snap. The defensive line charged forward like a battering ram. Linebacker Chris Adams broke through and hit Ryan with the force of a small truck. Ryan's body twisted in an impossible way before he slammed into the ground. The crowd exploded in cheers. The slow-motion replay showed the hit from 3 different angles, each one more brutal than the last. Ryan lay motionless for several seconds before slowly getting to his feet. He is injured, Dr. Nexwin said, his voice filled with horror. His body moved in ways that should have broken bones. Yet, the spectators are celebrating. It's a legal hit, Jake said, part of the game. Ryan knew the risks when he became a professional player. Commander Clive stood up suddenly. Professional? You mean they do this for work? This violence is their livelihood? Well, yes, Doctor. Carter said. Professional athletes are paid to compete. Millions of people watch these games. It's one of our most popular forms of entertainment. The alien commander began pacing, his blue glow flickering like a dying light. Your people pay money to watch organized violence, and the participants risk their bodies for the entertainment of others. When you put it like that, it sounds bad, Jake said. But it's not just about violence. It's about excellence, pushing the limits of human ability, working together as a team. On the screen, another brutal collision occurred. This time, a wide. Receiver was hit by two defenders while trying to catch a pass. He flipped completely over and landed hard on his back. The ball bounced away, and the crowd groaned in disappointment. Navigator Pulsing made that wind-through-broken-glass sound again, then collapsed into his chair. His skin had gone almost completely white. "Are you all right?" Dr. Carter asked, concerned. "I do not understand," Pulsin said weakly. "Why do they do this to themselves? Why do others watch and enjoy it?" Dr. Carter looked at Jake, who shrugged helplessly. The cultural exchange was not going as planned. "Perhaps we should take a break." Ambassador Zextal suggested, "We need time to process what we have seen." "Of course," Dr. Carter said. "But I hope you understand that these are just sports. They represent the best of human competitive spirit." The aliens filed out of the conference room in silence. Jake noticed that their graceful movements seemed more hurried now, less elegant. They were disturbed by what they had witnessed. "That didn't go well," Jake said once they were alone. "I don't understand why they're so upset," Dr. Carter replied. "These are normal human activities. Everyone grows up watching sports. Maybe that's the problem," Jake said. "Maybe what's normal for us is horrifying for them." Outside in the corridor, they could hear the aliens talking in their musical language. The tones were sharp and discordant, nothing like the gentle sounds they had made the day before. Dr. Carter gathered her materials, already planning the next session. "Tomorrow I'll show them some gentler sports," she said. "Maybe tennis or golf. Something less physical." Jake nodded, but he had a feeling that the problems were just beginning. The aliens' reaction to basic human sports had been extreme. He wondered what would happen when they saw more intense forms of human entertainment. The Veltar delegation spent the rest of the day in their quarters, refusing all invitations to tour the station. Through the walls, the humans could hear their continued discussions, the musical language now filled with urgent, worried tones. That night, Jake lay in his bed, staring at the ceiling. He had been so proud to represent humanity in First Contact. Now he wondered if they had made a terrible mistake. The aliens clearly saw humans as violent beings who enjoyed watching others suffer. He had no idea that tomorrow would be much worse. The next morning brought no improvement in the Veltar delegation's mood. Dr. Lisa Carter noticed that their blue glow had dimmed significantly, and they moved with less grace than before. Ambassador Zextal's large eyes held a wary expression that had not been there during their first meeting. "Perhaps today we can find common ground," Dr. Carter said hopefully. "I've selected some different types of entertainment that might be more to your liking." The aliens took their seats in the conference room, but they positioned themselves farther from the screen than they had the day before. Commander Clieth kept glancing at the exits, as if planning an escape route. "We appreciate your patience with our cultural education," Captain Jake Morrison said. "Today, we'll show you some of our other recreational activities." Dr. Carter activated the screen, showing a massive oval track surrounded by towering grandstands packed with spectators. Colorful race cars lined up in formation, their engines roaring like angry beasts. "This is NASCAR," Dr. Carter explained. "Automobile racing is one of our most popular sports. Drivers compete to see who can go the fastest around the track." The green flag dropped, and 43 cars shot forward, like bullets. They moved in a tight pack, mere inches apart, traveling at incredible speeds. The lead car was driven by Tony Martinez, a skilled racer known for his aggressive driving style. "How fast are they moving?" Dr. Nexwin asked, his voice tight with concern. "About 200 miles per hour, Dr. Carter said proudly. "The drivers are incredibly skilled to maintain control at those speeds." The Veltar delegation watched in growing alarm as the cars hurtled around the track. The vehicles were so close together that they seemed to be touching. Any small mistake would result in disaster. "They are risking their lives for entertainment," Navigator Polson said. Again. "Well, yes," Dr. Carter admitted, "but the cars are very safe. The drivers wear protective equipment, and the cars are built to protect them in case of crashes." As if the universe was listening, chaos erupted on the track. A car in the middle of the pack blew a tire, sending it spinning sideways at full speed. The car behind it had nowhere to go and slammed into it at nearly 200 miles per hour. The impact was tremendous, sending both cars flying through the air. More cars piled into the wreckage, creating a massive chain reaction. Metal twisted and flew in all directions. Flames erupted from several vehicles. The sound was like the end of the world. Navigator Polsine made a keening sound and slumped forward in his chair. Dr. Nexwin rushed to his side, checking his vital signs with a small device from his robes. "He has fainted," Dr. Nexwin reported. "His system cannot process what he is seeing." On the screen, the race had been stopped. Emergency crews rushed onto the track with fire trucks and ambulances. The crashed cars were twisted beyond recognition, some of them still burning. "Are the drivers dead?" Commander Clive asked in a whisper. "No," Dr. Carter said quickly, checking her notes. "All drivers survived this particular crash. Some had injuries, but they all lived." "Some had injuries," Ambassador Zextal repeated slowly. "They were injured, and yet thousands of spectators came to watch this event, knowing that injury was likely. The possibility of crashes is part of the excitement," Jake explained. "People don't want to see anyone get hurt, but the danger makes the competition more thrilling." The aliens stared at him as if he had just spoken in a foreign language. Their musical communication filled the room with harsh, discordant sounds. Dr. Carter, desperate to find something the aliens would approve of, switched to a different sport. "Let's try something completely different. This is skateboarding." The screen showed a concrete skate park with ramps, rails, and stairs. Young humans performed amazing tricks, flying through the air and spinning their boards beneath their feet. The crowd watched and cheered for each successful maneuver. "This looks more peaceful," Dr. Nexwin said hopefully. Tony Roberts, a professional skateboarder, approached a tall handrail on a steep staircase. He jumped onto the rail with his board, attempting to slide down its entire length. The trick was incredibly difficult and dangerous. Halfway down, Tony lost his balance. He fell hard, his body striking the concrete steps repeatedly as he tumbled down. The sound of his impact echoed through the park. He lay still at the bottom of the stairs, his board clattering away. The crowd rushed to help him, but they were also cheering and taking pictures. Tony slowly got to his feet, blood running from cuts on his arms and legs. He picked up his board and waved to the crowd, then immediately prepared to attempt the trick again. "He is injured," Commander Clive said. "Why is he not seeking medical?" "Attention? Skateboarders are tough," Dr. Carter explained. "Getting hurt is part of learning. Tony will keep trying until he makes the trick. The spectators are encouraging him to continue," Ambassador Zextal observed. "They want him to risk further injury for their entertainment." Security Chief Vexmar, who had been silent until now, began taking notes on a crystalline device. "Captain Morrison," he said, "are these activities representative of your species' recreational preferences?" Jake hesitated. They're popular, yes, but we have many different types of entertainment. Show us your peaceful entertainments, Vexmar demanded. Surely not all human recreation involves violence and danger. Dr. Carter quickly changed the display to show a youth hockey game. 10-year-old children skated on ice, chasing a rubber puck with long sticks. It seemed innocent enough until two young players collided near the boards. The impact sent both children crashing into the wall. One of them, a small girl named Katie, bounced off the boards and fell to the ice. She got up slowly, shaking her head to clear it, then immediately returned to chasing the puck. Your children participate in these dangerous activities, Dr. Nexwind said. You allow your young ones to risk injury for recreation. It teaches them teamwork and determination, Jake said. Sports help children develop character. Character, Ambassador Zextal repeated. You believe that risking physical harm builds character. On the screen, a young boy was checked hard into the boards by an opponent. He bounced off the wall and fell, but immediately got back up and continued playing. The parents in the stands cheered loudly. The adult caregivers are encouraging this behavior, Security Chief Vexmar noted. They bring their offspring to watch and participate in violent activities. Navigator Polson had regained consciousness, but his skin remained pale and his movements were shaky. How many of your recreational activities involve physical danger? He asked weakly. Dr. Carter and Jake looked at each other. The honest answer was most of them, but they didn't want to admit that. Many human sports have some element of physical challenge, Dr. Carter said carefully. We believe that overcoming obstacles and facing challenges makes us stronger. Stronger? For what? Commander Clive asked. What purpose does this strength serve? For life, Jake said. The real world is full of challenges. Sports prepare us to face them. The aliens exchanged glances and began their musical communication again. The sounds were even more urgent and disturbed than before. We need to discuss what we have learned, Ambassador Zextal announced. This cultural exchange has been illuminating. I hope we can continue tomorrow, Dr. Carter said. I have many more examples of human entertainment to share. The aliens filed out of the conference room in silence. Navigator Polson had to be supported by two of his colleagues, still weak from his fainting spell. After they were gone, Jake turned to Dr. Carter. I think we're in trouble, he said. They're not just confused by our entertainment, they're horrified. I don't understand why, Dr. Carter replied. These are normal human activities. Every culture has competitive sports. Maybe that's the problem, Jake said. Maybe our definition of normal is their definition of terrifying. That evening, the human delegation could hear the aliens talking late into the night. Their musical language carried through the station's walls, filled with urgent, worried tones. Occasionally, they heard what sounded like arguments. Though they couldn't understand the words, Dr. Carter spent the night preparing more examples of human entertainment. She was determined to find something that would help the aliens understand humanity's true nature. She had no idea that her next selection would push the Veltar delegation to the breaking point. In their quarters, the aliens were having a heated discussion about whether humans were too dangerous to be allowed into galactic civilization. The evidence was mounting that humanity was a species that glorified violence and taught their children to embrace physical harm as entertainment. Tomorrow would bring the final test of the alliance between their species. The third morning of cultural exchange brought a noticeable change in the Veltar delegation. Their blue glow had dimmed to barely visible, and they moved with the careful steps of beings who expected danger at any moment. Ambassador Zextal's large eyes held deep concern, while Commander Clive appeared ready to flee at the first sign of trouble. Dr. Lisa Carter had spent the entire night preparing what she believed would be the perfect examples of human entertainment. She was convinced that the aliens simply needed to see the full scope of human recreational activities to understand their true meaning. Today, I want to show you what we consider our ultimate forms of entertainment, Dr. Carter announced. These represent the peak of human competitive spirit and athletic achievement. Captain Jake Morrison shifted uncomfortably in his chair. Something about Dr. Carter's enthusiasm worried him, but he couldn't put his finger on what the aliens took their seats, positioned even farther from the screen than before. Navigator Paulsine looked particularly fragile, his skin almost transparent. Dr. Nexwin kept a medical device ready in his hands. This first example is called professional wrestling, Dr. Carter said, activating the screen. It combines athletics with performance art. The screen showed a massive arena filled with screaming fans. Two enormous humans stood in a wrestling ring, glaring at each other with obvious hatred. One was introduced as Stone Cold Steve Austin, the other as The Rock. Both men were muscular beyond belief, their bodies covered in scars from previous battles. These are actors, Dr. Carter explained. They perform choreographed fights for entertainment. It's like a violent theater. The match began with The Rock, charging at Steve Austin like a bull. Steve caught him and threw him across the ring with incredible force. The Rock hit the ropes and bounced back, only to be met with a devastating punch that sent him sprawling. They are pretending to hurt each other, Ambassador Zextal said slowly. For entertainment. Exactly, Dr. Carter said, pleased that the alien understood. It's all carefully planned and practiced. Steve Austin picked up The Rock and slammed him onto the mat so hard that the entire ring shook. The crowd roared with approval. The Rock responded by grabbing a steel chair and swinging it at Steve's head. The metallic clang echoed through the arena. The pretend violence is more extreme than the real violence we observed earlier, Commander Clieth noted. And the spectators are more excited by it. That's because they know it's safe, Dr. Carter said. Since it's not real, they can enjoy the spectacle without worrying about serious injury. The Rock climbed to the top rope and leaped off, crashing down onto Steve Austin with his full body weight. Steve writhed in apparent agony while the referee counted. At the last second, Steve kicked out, and the crowd exploded in cheers. Navigator Poulsen made a soft, whimpering sound. Your people prefer fake violence to real violence, he said weakly. The illusion of harm is more entertaining than actual harm. Well, when you put it like that, ... Jake began, but Dr. Carter cut him off. Let me show you something completely different, she said. This is mixed martial arts. It's real competition, but with strict rules and safety measures. The screen changed to show an octagonal cage surrounded by thousands of spectators. Two fighters entered the cage, and the crowd's energy was electric. Alex Rodriguez faced Jake Williams in what was billed as the championship fight of the century. This is the ultimate fighting championship, Dr. Carter explained. The fighters use multiple martial arts disciplines. It's the purest form of combat. Sport. The fight began with both men circling each other like predators. Alex shot forward, attempting to take Jake to the ground. Jake defended, but Alex managed to grab him and slam him against the cage wall. The crowd was on its feet, screaming. They are using their entire bodies as weapons, Security Chief Vexmar observed. Hands, feet, elbows, knees, everything. Alex landed a vicious elbow that opened a cut above Jake's eye. Blood poured down Jake's face, but he continued fighting. He escaped from the wall and caught Alex with a spinning kick that sent him staggering backward. The injured one is not stopping, Dr. Nexwin said in horror. He is fighting harder now that he is bleeding. The fight continued with increasing brutality. Jake took Alex down and began raining punches on his head. Alex struggled to escape, but Jake's strikes were relentless. The referee watched closely, ready to stop the fight if necessary. Millions of people around the world are watching this, Dr. Carter said proudly. It's one of the most popular sports on Earth. Alex finally escaped and got back to his feet, but his face was battered and swollen. He charged at Jake with desperate fury, landing a combination of punches that sent Jake crashing to the mat. The crowd's roar was deafening. Commander Clive stood up abruptly. How is this different from actual warfare? He demanded. These humans are trying to render each other unconscious or unable to continue. It's sport, Jake said, but his voice lacked conviction. They're testing themselves against worthy opponents. Testing themselves, Ambassador Zextal repeated, by attempting to cause as much damage as possible within the rules. The fight ended when Alex caught Jake in a chokehold. Jake struggled for several seconds, then went limp. The referee immediately stopped the fight, and medical personnel rushed into the cage. The crowd cheered wildly for both fighters. The victor is celebrated for successfully strangling his opponent. Navigator Poulsen said in a voice barely above a whisper. Dr. Carter, sensing that she was losing her audience, quickly switched to her final example. This last one is different, she said. It's a traditional festival that shows human courage and cultural heritage. The screen showed a narrow street in Pamplona, Spain, filled with hundreds of people dressed in white. At the far end of the street, a gate opened, and several massive bulls charged out, their horns gleaming in the sunlight. This is the running of the bulls, Dr. Carter explained. It's a centuries-old tradition where people run in front of bulls to show their bravery. The bulls thundered down the street, and the humans ran ahead of them. The animals were enormous, weighing over 1,000 pounds each, with sharp horns that could easily kill a person. The runners stayed just ahead of the charging beasts. They are deliberately placing themselves in mortal danger, Ambassador Zextal said, for no practical purpose. It's about courage, Dr. Carter said, facing your fears and proving your bravery. One runner stumbled and fell directly in front of a charging bull. The animal's hooves trampled over him, and its horn caught him in the leg. The man was tossed aside like a rag doll, blood streaming from his wound. The bull continued its charge, seemingly unaware of the damage it had caused. He is severely injured, Dr. Nexwin said, his medical training evident in his assessment. That wound requires immediate surgical attention. On the screen, the injured man was helped to his feet by other runners. Despite his obvious pain and the blood soaking his clothes, he was smiling and laughing. The crowd cheered for his courage. The wounded human is pleased with his injury, Security Chief Vexmar noted. He considers it an achievement. It's a badge of honor, Dr. Carter said. He'll have a story to tell for the rest of his life. The footage continued, showing more runners being trampled, gored, and injured. Each injury was met with cheers from the spectators and smiles from the victims. The bulls, meanwhile, seemed confused by the entire situation. Commander Clive collapsed back into his chair. Your people voluntarily run in front of angry beasts, he said. They consider being trampled and gored to be entertaining. But wait, Dr. Carter said. I have one more example. This is called base jumping. The screen showed a human figure standing on the edge of a cliff, wearing a backpack. Far below, the ground was barely visible. The person was Tony Mitchell, a professional base jumper. He's going to jump off that cliff, Dr. Carter explained. He has a parachute that will allow him to land safely. Tony spread his arms and leaped from the cliff. He fell like a stone, the wind screaming past him. The camera followed his descent, showing the ground rushing up at terrifying speed. He threw himself from a perfectly safe position, Navigator Poulsen said, into mortal danger. For the thrill, Dr. Carter said. The rush of adrenaline, the feeling of flying. Tony's parachute deployed, and he drifted safely to the ground, He landed with a smile on his face, immediately preparing for another jump. The crowd of spectators cheered his successful landing. "He is going to do it again," Commander Clive observed. "Once was not sufficient. Base jumpers often make multiple jumps in a day," Dr. Carter said. "It's addictive." The silence that followed was deafening. The Veltar delegation stared at the screen, their blue glow now completely gone. They looked like pale ghosts of their former selves. Ambassador Zex Tel was the first to speak. "Your people throw themselves from cliffs for pleasure," he said. "They run in front of dangerous animals for honor. They fight each other until unconscious for sport. They pretend to commit violence for art. And millions watch these activities." Security Chief Vexmar added, "Your entire civilization celebrates and rewards this behavior." Dr. Carter looked around the room desperately. "But you have to understand the context," she said. "These activities represent human values. Courage, determination, the willingness to push boundaries. The willingness to embrace death," Commander Clive corrected. "Your people actively seek dangerous situations that could kill them, and they do it for an asterisk." The fourth morning brought an atmosphere of crisis to the space station New Frontier. Captain Jake Morrison woke to urgent messages from Earth Command, demanding updates on the deteriorating first contact situation. The Veltar delegation had spent the entire night in emergency session, and their musical conversations had grown increasingly agitated. Dr. Lisa Carter arrived at the conference room early, her face drawn with exhaustion. She had spent hours reviewing human entertainment through alien eyes, and the results had shaken her understanding of her own species. "They're going to leave," she told Jake when he arrived. "I can feel it. We've terrified them so badly that they'll never trust us." Jake nodded grimly. "Earth Command is asking for a full report. They want to know how we managed to turn a peaceful first contact into a diplomatic disaster." The Veltar delegation entered the room with the formal bearing of judges about to deliver a verdict. Ambassador Zextel's skin had lost all its blue glow, appearing almost gray in the artificial light. Commander Clive and Security Chief Vexmar flanked him like guards. Navigator Pool_Sign was noticeably absent. "How is Pool_Sign?" Dr. Carter asked with genuine concern. "He is recovering in our medical bay," Dr. Nex_Win replied. "His exposure to your recreational activities caused severe psychological trauma. He may require extensive therapy to process what he witnessed." The weight of those words settled over the humans like a heavy blanket. Their entertainment had literally traumatized an alien being. Ambassador Zex_Tal stood formally. "Captain Morrison, Dr. Carter, we have reached a decision regarding our relationship with humanity." Jake's heart sank. "You're recommending that we be quarantined from galactic civilization. We believe your species poses a significant risk to the peaceful nature of our galactic community." Commander Cly_Eth said, "Your people actively seek danger for pleasure, celebrate violence as entertainment, and train your children to embrace physical harm as character building." "You misunderstand us," Dr. Carter protested. "Those activities represent our best qualities. They show human courage, determination, and the willingness to push beyond our limits. They show a species with no regard for self-preservation." Security Chief Vex_Mar countered, "Beings who consider mortal danger to be recreational cannot be trusted with the safety of others." At that moment, Engineer Sam Peters came running into the room, blood streaming from a deep cut on his hand. He had been working on the station's environmental systems when a sharp piece of metal had sliced his palm open. "Sorry to interrupt," Sam said, breathing hard. "I need to get to the medical bay. Cut myself pretty bad on a broken conduit." The Vel_Tar delegation immediately tensed, expecting the humans to react with the same enthusiasm they showed for their violent entertainment. Instead, they witnessed something completely different. Dr. Carter immediately rushed to Sam's side. "Let me see that wound," she said, her voice filled with concern. She gently took his injured hand and examined the cut. Jake activated his communicator. "Medical team to conference room. We have an injured crew member." Dr. Nex_Win, his medical training overriding his fear of humans, stepped forward. "May I assist?" he asked. "I have medical supplies." "Please," Dr. Carter said gratefully. "Any help would be appreciated." The alien doctor produced a small device from his robes and scanned Sam's wound. "The cut is deep, but has not severed any major vessels," he reported. "It requires immediate cleaning and closure." Working together, Dr. Carter and Dr. Nex_Win cleaned and bandaged Sam's wound. The other Vel_Tar watched in fascination as both species showed genuine care and cooperation in helping the injured human. "Thank you," Sam said to the alien doctor. "I appreciate the help. It was my duty as a medical professional," Dr. Nex_Win replied. "Healing transcends species boundaries." As Sam left for proper medical treatment, the conference room fell into thoughtful silence. The aliens had just witnessed humans responding to real injury with care and concern, not celebration and cheering. That was different, Ambassador Zex_Tal observed. Your reaction to actual harm was completely unlike your reaction to recreational harm. Of course it was different, Jake said. Sam was really hurt. No one wants to see a friend actually injured. But in your entertainment, you cheer when people are hurt, Commander Cly_Eth pointed out. That's because they chose to be there. Dr. Carter explained. In sports, people accept the risks willingly. They train for years to compete. When Sam cut himself, it was an accident. He didn't choose to be injured. Dr. Nex_Win, still processing what he had witnessed, spoke up. Dr. Carter, you showed immediate concern for Engineer Peters. Your first instinct was to help, not to watch for entertainment. Of course, Dr. Carter said. He's hurt and needed help. Yet, when you showed us your boxing match, thousands of humans cheered as the fighters hurt each other. Security Chief Vex_Mar noted. Jake had a sudden realization. You don't understand the difference between chosen challenges and real emergencies, he said. When humans compete in sports, they're testing themselves voluntarily. When someone is genuinely in trouble, we help them. To demonstrate his point, Jake activated the station's database and pulled up footage of human rescue operations. The screen showed firefighters running into burning buildings, Coast Guard teams saving drowning sailors, and mountain rescue teams risking their lives to save stranded climbers. These are the same humans you saw competing in dangerous sports, Jake explained. When faced with real danger threatening others, they don't hesitate to risk their lives. The aliens watched footage of Hurricane Katrina rescues, where ordinary humans used their own boats to save strangers from flooding. They saw earthquake response teams digging through rubble for survivors, working for days without rest. The humans engaging in rescue operations are volunteers, Ambassador Zex_Tal noted. They receive no payment for risking their lives. That's right, Dr. Carter said. When people are in real danger, humans help. The same drive that makes us compete in dangerous sports makes us willing to help others in emergency situations. Dr. Kevin Barnes, the station's sports psychologist, had been called to help explain human behavior. He entered the conference room, carrying a tablet full of research data. I study why humans engage in risky recreational activities, Dr. Barnes said. We do it to build psychological resilience, create social bonds, and develop the courage needed for real emergencies. He showed the aliens data on how competitive athletes often became emergency responders, how extreme sports participants frequently volunteered for dangerous rescue missions, and how military units use challenging training to prepare for combat. Your recreational violence teaches you to handle actual violence. Commander Cly_F said slowly. Exactly, Dr. Barnes replied. Humans who participate in contact sports are better able to function under stress. People who engage in extreme sports develop the mental toughness needed for dangerous situations. Ambassador Zex_Tal was beginning to understand. Your people deliberately expose themselves to controlled danger to prepare for uncontrolled danger. And it works, Jake added. The same qualities that make humans willing to jump off cliffs for fun also make them willing to jump into danger to save others. On the screen, Jake showed footage of the September 11th attacks, where firefighters and police officers ran into collapsing buildings to save civilians. Many of these first responders were athletes who had spent years conditioning themselves to push through fear and pain. Your species cultivates courage as a recreational activity, Dr. Nex_Win said with wonder in his voice. You practice bravery for enjoyment. We practice it because we might need it, Dr. Carter said. The universe is a dangerous place. Humans who can handle artificial danger are better equipped to handle real danger. Security Chief Vex_Mar put away his note-taking device. This changes our assessment considerably, he said. We thought you were a species that glorified violence. Instead, you are a species that prepares for violence. We prepare for everything, Jake said. Natural disasters, accidents, conflicts, exploration hazards. Our recreational activities aren't about enjoying danger. They're about being ready for it. Ambassador Zex_Tal looked at his delegation and back at the humans. Dr. Carter, could you show us examples of humans helping each other during actual emergencies? For the next hour, Dr. Carter displayed footage of human cooperation during crises. The aliens watched humans form bucket brigades during fires, organize neighborhood watches during disasters, and risk their lives to save strangers in every conceivable emergency situation. The same humans who compete violently in sports work, together selflessly in emergencies, Commander Cly_Ed observed. Competition teaches us individual excellence, Dr. Barnes explained. Emergencies teach us collective responsibility. Both are necessary for a complete society. The transformation in the Vel_Tar delegation was remarkable. Their blue glow began returning as they understood that human recreational violence was actually preparation for protecting others. We have made an error in Rue,